Okay, hello and welcome to everyone who has managed to join us. Congratulations during Storm Barra. We're going to wait a few more minutes to see if anyone else is able to join us. So in the meantime, please feel free to put any questions you may have in the chat around finance and benefits, and we'll hopefully be able to get to them during this session. And will we start again? Kirsty, I presume we'll apologise for it.
Hi. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening. It says we've got an unstable connection on. So we'll try again. Hang on. I'm just going to put myself back on mute and I'll start again.
Jane, this is doomed, isn't it? You with COVID and now Storm Barra. Me and you. Perhaps we shouldn't put me and you together.
Oh. No, I know.
Okay, I think we're back. Apologies, everyone. Storm Barra, I should have mentioned it before, should I? Because it now looks like Storm Barra is interrupting with our streaming. I'm hoping this is now live. I'm just trying to get connection or confirmation from our technical person to check that we are live. It's not your fault, Kirsty, don't worry.
Oh, we're live.
Okay, hello again for the third time, everyone. I'm really sorry. We seem to be having some issues with streaming, which I'm putting down to Storm Barra. And if you've managed to join us, congratulations and thank you for joining us. We're going to wait a few more minutes just for other people to try and join, but do feel free to start adding into any questions you have on finance or benefits for family carers into the chat, and we'll get back to them as soon as we can. Hopefully, fingers crossed, the internet's going to stay stable for this. Thank you. Can you hear the storm, Jane?
It's a bit windy.
Yeah, it's a bit windy.
Yeah.
Okay. Just checking we've got people who want to join us. Okay, so it seems that we have 20 people who have joined, so congratulations everyone on doing so, and I think we'll make a start. Hello and welcome everyone. This live event is part of the launch programme for our new virtual carers centre at Dementia Carers Count. Our virtual carers centre is there for family members and friends looking after for someone with dementia, and it's there for you day or night, 7 days a week. It's filled with information and support around all sorts of topics and has been put together by health and care professionals, including Jane and myself. And we hope that it will be of use to you. It covers topics such as how to manage emotions, everyday challenges, looking after your own physical and emotional well-being, which we know is so important, and also how the brain is affected by the different types of dementia. But of course, it also covers the topic of practical information around carers' rights and benefits, and that's what we're going to discuss today. So before we get started, just to introduce ourselves, I'm Sue Hines. I'm Head of Services at Dementia Carers Count. And Jane, would you like to?
Jane Stanfield, Associate Practitioner with Dementia Carers Count, and the majority of my working life has been supporting carers through various organisations relating to adult social care. So carers information and advice, carers support in the wider sense.
Thanks, Jane. So before we start the question and answers with Jane, I just want to cover some important housekeeping. Whilst Jane is an expert in her field, she's not a financial advisor, and she can't be offering financial or legal advice. What she does offer is helpful information from her own experiences of supporting carers in the past and currently. But if you do need more specific advice, then we suggest you consult a financial advisor, an independent financial advisor. The event is being recorded and it will be uploaded to Facebook and YouTube channels. So if your internet wobbles or you have to go off to do something else, then it will be there for you to look at again in the future, but also to signpost family and friends to if you feel it would be of use to them as well. If we don't get around to answering your questions during this session because we're time limited, then do send them in by email. We're also logging the questions that are asked here and now, and we will get back to you as much as we possibly can. So let's start today's topic. So just to confirm, the Q&A is on benefits and finance. Please do send us the questions and put them in the chat, and I will be reading them out for Jane. So I'm going to go to the first question, Jane, and it's from Carol. She says, hi, I've been told by friends there is a higher allowance when you are a full-time carer and your husband is incontinent, but I can't find it on the government website. Is there anything you can suggest?
Well, it sounds like this is attendance allowance if the person needing the care is over pension age, or if they're of working age, it might be personal independence payment. But these allowances, these benefits, are not means tested, and they're there because the person has a need for care, a need for help with daily activities. So you talk about a higher allowance, and I wonder whether that's the higher rate of attendance allowance. Attendance allowance has two rates. The lower rate is if you have a need for care, supervision, somebody to help you with activities and to keep safe. If you have the need for that either during the day or during the night. And the higher allowance, the higher rate of attendance allowance is if you need that care day and night. So it might be related to incontinence, but it could be related to all sorts of things, but it has to be a need during the day and the night to get the higher rate. And if the person you're caring for is already getting the lower rate of attendance allowance and you think things have changed, then you can apply and they'll send you a smaller questionnaire than the original application form, you'll be glad to know. And you fill them in with what's happening and what the changes have been.
Thanks, Jane. So look, I think the two key things here are that there are two different rates. There's the lower rate and the higher rate, and what you think is that the higher rate might be applicable now, but also importantly, always to go back if things have changed and ask for a reassessment of need, because that might sort of qualify you for a different one. Thank you. So I've got another question here. Are there any courses I can go on to help me with some basic finance management? My husband used to do everything in the house and I'm totally lost. I feel I am in a mess, just not remembering to do anything on time, and I'm not very good online. I think that goes for me, not being very good online either.
That's a really good question. That would, a course to help people just manage basic household finance, I think would be excellent. And they may exist. I don't know of any. I do know that Money Saving Expert, the website, the Martin Lewis website, it does have I think they call it a budget planning guide to help you plan your household budget and how to manage. Whether that's exactly what you're looking for or not, I don't know. But I think you might have given us an idea for something that maybe Dementia Carers Count could develop in future, because that would be a really, really useful thing, and you won't be the only carer wanting it. So thank you for your question. I'm sorry I I haven't got an immediate answer for you in terms of a ready-made course.
I think that's a great answer, Jane, because actually you've given us lots of ideas, and that's an important thing to say to everyone. If there are ideas you want to put in the comment box that we can support with in the future, then do so. And it might well be that Dementia Carers Count can look at a course that delivers this. But in the meantime, there are some sort of resources, say, on the Money Expert website as well. So a great question, thank you. So just waiting for the next question, see what comes up. I have one from Terry here, which is about council tax discounts for the family. So I'll just read this out to you. I would like to know more about council tax discounts for the family carer. I already claimed for my wife, but are there any further options there for me as well?
Okay. There are three ways of getting money off with council tax. There's the means tested council tax allowance, which if you're on a low income, and jointly if you're a couple, you fill in the means test and the council will tell you if you'll get anything off your council tax. So that's the means tested one. If you have to make alterations to your house to accommodate someone with a disability, for example, you've changed a living room into a wet room or something like that, you might be able to go down a council tax band, and that's called the disability reduction scheme. And again, ask your council about that. And the third one, which I think might be what Terry's talking about, is the disregard. Certain people are ignored for council tax purposes. So students are ignored, and people with a severe mental impairment are ignored if they're getting the relevant disability benefits, such as attendance allowance, and a doctor will certify that they have what this phrase means, severe mental impairment, which often covers people with dementia. And the purpose of being ignored for council tax is that it might reduce the number of adults in your household who are seen for council tax purposes to 1 or 0. And so if there's only one adult seen there, then you get the single person's reduction, the 25%. Carers can be ignored for council tax, but they can't if they are the spouse or partner of the person they're caring for, I'm afraid. So that sounds like that would count you out of that, Terry, I'm sorry. But if it's an adult child caring for an elderly parent, or a sibling caring for a sibling, then they can be ignored for council tax purposes as carers if they are caring at least 35 hours a week. And they're living in the same house, of course.
Thanks, Jane. Thank you. It's quite complex, isn't it? And I think it's really important to get in touch with your local council to talk it through. It's also a funny phrase, I know from experience in our courses, the term of being ignored is quite a difficult one, isn't it? But it is just ignored for the purpose of the council tax disregard. You're not ignored, but it means that you're discounted from that. So Terry, I'm hoping that's been of some useful information to you. And I think the best advice is just check with your local council offices as well. Is that right, Jane?
Yeah, and also there is a page about this on our Virtual Carers Centre if you wanted to look at that as well.
Brilliant, fantastic, and thanks for that, Jane, because we will go over at the end of this session some of the pages that are on our Virtual Carers Centre, and I know we will be putting the links there for everybody, so you will be able to see those links, and I'll run through them just at the end of this as well. So this is a question, again, this is quite a tricky one. I know from speaking to carers sometimes happens. My husband has been hiding money troubles from me. There are loads of debt on his credit cards, and now I have to work out what to do about it. I don't know who to talk to. I'm panicking and I'm embarrassed, and I don't want to admit it to anyone. So can I just firstly say well done to whoever sent that in, because I think it's a really important question.
Yeah, very important. And again, you won't be the only person, although it probably feels like it. I'm sorry. There's two ways of looking at this, well, more than two ways. One is looking at what you do about the debt and where you can go for help with the debt. And the other is looking at ways perhaps to protect both of you from it happening again. With regard to the debt, there are some helplines and organisations that do help with debt. There's the National Debt Advice Line. Money Saving Expert, again, has debt advice. And then there's a charity called Step Change, which will come and help rationalise debt. They'll help talk with the creditors and come to some arrangements for payments and things. So those are just three organisations that could help you. And I'm sure we could put the links up somewhere, Sue, couldn't we, afterwards if we need to. It's very difficult how to stop this happening if the person whose money it is and whose debts it is isn't willing to accept some help. But there are some mechanisms that you might be able to use to sort of limit the amount of debt that can accrue. And talking with the bank is probably your first step to see what the bank can do to help. Some banks might be able to put spending limits on cards, or help you have a joint account, and so it needs both of you to agree to any payment, for example. But if you speak to the bank, they may be able to help. Excuse me.
Thanks, Jane. So speaking to the bank, you've also mentioned the National Debt Line, money saving website, and was it Step Change?
Step Change, all one word, Step Change.
Okay, Step Change, all one word, and we will put the links in after this event so that you do have those. But also I think, and it's clear in the message, and is that emotional well-being of yourself, because this is something that you didn't know about, and that's really tough. And as you say, trying to admit it to anyone is quite hard. And we do in the Virtual Carers Centre have lots of information about your own emotional well-being and how to look after yourself as well. So hopefully that can be of support to you as well, because there's an emotional aspect as well as a financial aspect here as well, isn't there? Okay, next question. My dad is in a care home. My mum is still living at home. I know there is an amount that mum can keep in her savings and that they can not use that to pay the home. So they cannot use that to pay the home. How do I go about telling them they have reached the limit?
Telling the council, yes. So if there is savings of above £23,250, then the person is what they call a self-funder, and the person will pay for their own care. And it is just the individual who's got the care needs. It won't be the couple. It'll be the individual's share of whatever they own. And while there is a spouse or a partner who still needs to live in the home, the value of the home doesn't come into the equation at all, and there's no question of the home being sold. So it's just other assets that are looked at. If the person's savings are getting near the £23,250, then I would suggest that you contact your local adult social care service for an assessment. If he hasn't or she hasn't already been assessed as needing the care that they're in, then ask for an assessment. If that assessment has already happened, then all you need to do is alert them that you're approaching the point at which you will be looking for a financial contribution from the council, and therefore they have to start the process of doing the financial assessment and working out what that contribution will be. And as the savings drop below 23,250, the contribution will probably increase as the savings go down. So.
Thanks, Jane. It's really complicated, isn't it? And that question was from Mick, and a really, really important question, actually, that we've received, so thank you. It seems that Mick's parent is in a care home already, but there are lots of people who are considering it, and all these finances are really important to them, aren't they? We will be doing a 4-week course in January on transitions into care, and I know you're going to be part of it, aren't you?
Yeah.
Around looking about the financial implications of moving into a care home. So that may be useful to other people as well. But thank you very much, Mick, for that valuable question. So I have a question from Maggie now, okay? And it's, how can we get medical evidence to support an AA claim for multiple conditions, including dementia? Is that something we can cover in this session?
Well, we could. I suppose I don't know whether you've already applied for attendance allowance and they've turned it down, and therefore you feel you need medical evidence, because usually attendance allowance is awarded on the basis of the description of the help needed, what people have difficulty doing, what sort of help they need, and what's it due to, i.e. some sort of dementia or cognitive impairment, or whatever it might be. So medical evidence in terms of confirming that there is something, even if it's not a diagnosis as yet, but something that's under investigation, would come perhaps from a GP or a member of the memory team who are doing the investigations. Because attendance allowance, it's not to do with health needs, it's to do with social care needs. The evidence you need is the difficulty that someone has with their own care. So excuse me, I'm not sure that a lot of detailed medical information is needed, and that's, I think in your question you're implying there are other things, that other medical issues that perhaps need additional care, in which case again GPs can charge, of course, but a letter from a GP or another health professional might be the right way forward. Without knowing the full details, I'm slightly cagey about saying exactly what it might be.
It's tough, isn't it, without knowing the individual circumstances, but certainly an attendance allowance is one of the first things I think we would probably encourage to do, is step by step explain how it is that you're supporting the person at home. So it is to do with the medical evidence, but it's more importantly to do with the evidence about what it is on a day-to-day person, the day-to-day basis that the person specifically needs help with. However, Maggie, if you do want to get in touch with us separately, do so, send us an email and we can look at that another point with you as well and talk you through it. So thank you, Maggie. So the next one is from Joanne. I've given up work to help my dad care for my mum. I get £300 from me and dad gets the attendance allowance, which is the one we were just talking about. Is it only dad that can apply for the attendance allowance, or can I too? So Joanne wonders whether she can apply for attendance allowance as well as her father applying for it.
Okay, so Joanne, you say you get £300 a month, which I think must be your carer's allowance.
Jane, can I just stop you? Sorry to disturb your flow. It's just she's followed up with something a little bit more.
Okay.
Someone suggested she could set up as carer officially and possibly receive some of the direct payments. Or did you have any other suggestions? Does that make it clearer for you?
Yeah. So your dad gets attendance allowance. You, I think, get carer's allowance, and one of the suggestions is I think your dad might get some direct payments from the council to pay for his care, and one of the suggestions is that he pays you to do that. It's not impossible, but councils are very, very wary of agreeing that direct payments are paid to a family member. There are certain circumstances where they will do that, but you might want to have that conversation with them to see if you're in those circumstances. But it's not easy to get them to agree that. My query would be, I can't do the maths in my head, but if carer's allowance is your only income and you're of working age and you're not in a partnership, so you don't have a partner who has an income, then you may be entitled to the universal credit means tested benefit, which should top up your carer's allowance a little bit. It's not.
Joanne sorry, Jane. Joanne has confirmed it's a carer's allowance.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Joanne. So if carer's allowance is your only income and you don't have a partner who has an income and savings and the general means tested, the means testing rules, then you may well get a bit of a top up with universal credit, and it might be worth you applying for universal credit as well to top your carer's allowance up. And if you are doing things for your dad and he's getting attendance allowance and it's not being spent on other things, then there's nothing to stop him using his attendance allowance to help you do the things that you do for him. For example, petrol or other expenditure.
Okay, thanks, Jane. It's really complicated, isn't it? And I think that's where the value of us having recorded this session, so hopefully Joanne and others can go back over it, but also the information that we'll signpost you to at the end of this session in the Virtual Carers Centre. So I have a question from Julie now. I'm a carer for my mum and I have power of attorney to manage her finances. She currently has finances over the threshold and I'm worried about how any spending might be perceived. Any advice would be appreciated.
I think normal expenditure, things that she would normally be spending things on, and you're spending it for her to get the things that she would normally have, the things that she would normally do, give the reasonable gifts she would normally give, is fine. Keep a very good record, just so you can show, if anybody queried it, what's gone where. If there's a big chunk of money that suddenly goes somewhere to bring her down to the level, then when the council do their means test, they may say, what happened there? Why was that spent? The thing they're really looking for is if you deliberately deprive her of income in order to bring her down to the level where she might get a contribution from the council. They won't like it if it looks like money's been given away deliberately to bring her into within the charging threshold. But if it's normal expenditure, if it's money to help her live a good quality of life, if you have to spend to put a stair lift in or whatever it might be, that's fine. Obviously, all your spending is going to be in her best interest as her attorney anyway, so just keep a record.
Thanks, Jane. I think there's two things there, isn't it? Is if the expenditure is around quality of life and safety, you gave the example of the stair lift, if it's going to improve that quality of life and safety. But also, as we say on so many of our courses, think about the person's past, how they would have spent their money, what sort of things they would have been of value to them, and really go back to that part of their life and decide, actually, is this normal for them? Because if it's normal for them and you know that, then that's okay expenditure, really. So I think that was probably the last question we have time for. It's now 6:28 in the evening. There are a couple of minutes to go, so I'll just do sort of the wrapping up. And the first thing is to say, Jane, thank you so much for doing this Facebook Live event for us. It's part of our launch of the Virtual Carers Centre at Dementia Carers Count, and hopefully it's been really valuable to people. Hopefully it's given people a link where they can ask us more questions and access some of our services. I know you have put a wealth of information which is backed up by your experience in PDF versions on our website, which are downloadable, and they're in the Virtual Carers Centre. And hopefully that can help to explain some of the issues we've discussed today very clearly. We will put the links to those in the chat at the end of this, but some of the examples of things that you've written for us, and I know are really clear, are the council tax disregard explained. Are you missing out on carers allowance? Carers allowance has certainly come up today, hasn't it? And could carers credits work for you? So we will put the links for those in the chat for people, and also they'll be available for the future through Facebook. Thank you to everyone who's joined us today. Sorry for the blips at the beginning. I do blame Storm Barra, and nothing ever goes seamlessly though, does it? We do frequently also run live online events around exploring the range of carers' rights and benefits, and Jane often takes those sessions for us. And they're an opportunity to have a discussion online, get some information, but also some support and information from other carers and how they've navigated the system as well and what's tricky for them. So It also gives us that opportunity to reflect on individual session situations as well. So it can be really helpful. So do have a look at our live online learning, and you will find some sessions around legal rights and benefits, but also mental capacity. And hopefully you'll be able to see Jane at some of those sessions. Meanwhile, please continue to ask questions. We'll be in the back, sort of behind the scenes for the next 15 minutes or so. We'll be collecting those questions. And if you don't get the opportunity to put the questions in then do email into us. And hopefully we will see you on some of our live online sessions, or perhaps face-to-face course in 2022, who knows. Thank you, everyone.